The 1969 restyle of the Ford Mustang made the car larger and heavier. There isn't much written about Lee Iacocca's involvement in this restyle because he wasn't that involved. Ford's new president, Bunkie Knudsen, stated that high output would be the primary focus of the Mustang moving forward. Now, he arrived to Ford a little late in the game to be all that involved in the design process. However, he did have his fingerprints on this car. There would be new marketing. Ford would look to new markets for the Mustang. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the changes on the 69 and 70 and see what kind of impact that had on sales numbers. Now, one disclaimer going in, I'm not going to cover the Boss 302 or Boss 429 in this video. I think those cars deserve their own. With that out of the way, let's get started.
Remember how your first Mustang made life more delicious?
So, how about a second helping?
The 1969 Mustang. Sportier than ever, roomier than ever, longer than ever.
My Mustang has 4 on the floor. What's the matter? Didn't they like the bucket seats?
And whatever your mood, Mustang matches it. Go all-out luxury in the new Grande.
If a 33 Real married a 69 Mustang Grande, would it be called a Mustang Real Grande?
Go high performance in the new Mach 1. Available with a 428 Cobra Jet V8.
Knock it to me.
At your Ford dealers now, Mustang 1969.
Very interesting. And also very economical. Inexpensive.
Ford gives you better ideas. Ford gives you better ideas.
Released in September of 1968, the 1969 Mustang was 3.8 inches longer and a half-inch wider than the 1968 it was replacing. The wheelbase remained at 108 inches. The 1969 Mustang was offered in a hardtop coupe, a sports roof or fastback, and as a convertible. The 1969 had a very different look. In the front of the car, the grille opening was taller and wider, and there were now 4 headlamps. The pony corral was replaced with the tri-bar logo. The sides of the Mustang became more slab style. On the coupes and convertibles, the faux brake duct was reversed facing rearward, and the fastbacks featured a faux cooling duct placed below the rear quarter window. That quarter window had a fixed B-pillar on fastbacks, and it flipped outwards. The fastbacks featured a pony emblem center of the seat pillar, and the coupes did not. At the rear of the car, the tail lamp panel was still concave, and there were 3 vertical tail lamps. However, these extended from the panel. The interior now featured high back bucket seats with headrests, and a larger dashboard and center stack acted to separate the driver and passenger compartments. 1969 would offer more models of Mustang than any time in its history, and there were 7 power plant offerings. The base engine was the 120 horsepower, 200 cubic inch straight 6. Optional engines included the 155 horsepower, 250 cubic inch straight 6, the 210 horsepower, 302 cubic inch 2-barrel carbureted V8, the 250 horsepower, 351 cubic inch Windsor 2-barrel V8, the 290 horsepower, 351 cubic inch 4-barrel Windsor V8, which put down 385 pound-feet of torque, the 320 horsepower, 390 cubic inch 4-barrel S-Code V8, or the 335 horsepower, 428 cubic inch 4-barrel Cobra Jet or Super Cobra Jet. With or without the Ram Air Shaker Scoop, that engine put down 440 pound-feet of torque. Available transmissions included a standard 3-speed manual, while optional transmissions included the C4 or C6 3-speed automatic, or a 4-speed manual close ratio top loader, or a 4-speed manual wide ratio. Standard equipment on any Mustang would include items such as a floor-mounted shifter lever, bucket seats, full carpeting, courtesy lighting, a driver's side mirror, and 4 headlamps. Mustang model offerings included the standard Mustang, the luxury-oriented Grande, the performance-oriented GT, Mach 1, the Shelby GT 350 and GT 500, as well as the Boss 302 and Boss 429. Popular optional equipment for the Mustang included every driveline regardless of model selection, the decor group which included comfort weave seats, courtesy door lights, molded door panel trim with integral armrests, a 3-spoke rim blow steering wheel, and a left-hand remote mirror. The deluxe decor group which added a teak-toned instrument panel and an electric clock. this was only available to convertibles and sports roofs. The exterior decor group, which included bright trim work for the wheel openings and rear deck moldings for the hardtop and convertible. Other options included power front disc brakes, power steering, a power convertible top, an AM radio, an AM FM radio, a stereosonic AM 8-track tape player, select air conditioning, a two-tone hood, a full-length console, steel-style wheels, a vinyl roof for the hardtop only, full-width bench seat, remote mirror, speed control, a tachometer with V8s only, a folding rear seat for sports roofs only, competition suspension, heavy-duty suspension, tinted glass, limited slip or traction lock differentials, intermittent wipers, a performance rear axle ratio, an extra cooling package, and a trailer towing package. The standard model Mustang could be purchased as a hardtop, sports roof, or as a convertible, and a majority of options in the order book could be added to a base model Mustang should one have chosen to do so. The Mustang Grande was aimed at the upscale buyer and came with standard high back bucket seats with cloth inserts and the deluxe decor group. The Mustang GT could be ordered in any body style, however the powertrain was limited to either the 351s, the 390, or one of the 428 Cobra Jets. It came standard with a true dual exhaust with quad chrome tips, steel-styled wheels with trim rings and center caps, a flip-open fuel filler cap, GT lower rocker striping, and competition suspension.
Mustang Mach 1. Mach 1, special sports performance, sports roof Mustang. Mach 1, something scorching to keep Mustang the original and the front runner, thundering along far ahead of the pack.
The Mach 1 was limited to the sports roof only. Its powertrain was limited to one of the 351s, the 390, or one of the 428 Cobra Jets. It came standard with a true dual exhaust with quad chrome tips, steel-style wheels with trim rings and center caps, a flip-open fuel filler cap, a low-gloss blacked-out hood, reflective Mach 1 side stripes, hood pins, raised white letter wide oval tires, the competition suspension with heavier shocks, springs, and a stabilizer bar, the Comfort Weave high back bucket seats with an inner-wheel headrest, racing mirrors, the deluxe interior, an electric clock, a tinted glass rear window, and a full-length console. The 1969 Shelby was to be the last Shelby produced, and this was a Ford product with little to no input from Carroll Shelby himself. Carroll Shelby terminated his agreement with Ford in the summer of 1969. It had become more of a touring car and less of a performance car and was built in Michigan. It was available as a sports roof or a convertible. The GT350 was powered by the 290 horsepower 351 cubic inch Windsor V8, and the GT500 was powered by the 335 horsepower, the 428 cubic inch Cobra Jet. Both featured ram air through a ram air hood. These were mated to either Ford's top loader 4-speed or a 3-speed Cruise-O-Matic automatic transmission. There was a single Boss 302 Shelby GT 350 built in 1969 as a prototype, however that car never was put into mass production. The Shelby looked completely different from other 69 Mustangs. The front of the car was extended 4 inches and the entire front fascia, hood, and fenders were made of fiberglass and unique to the Shelby. The front of the car featured its own bumper that met chrome trim on the fenders and on the top of the hood, giving it a loop-style look. The Shelby featured 2 headlamps, augmented by Lucas driving lights and 2 large parking lamps. The fiberglass hood featured 1 ram air inlet style scoop, 2 front vent air inlets, and 2 rear extractor vents, as well as twist style hood locks. The sides of the Shelby featured front and rear brake cooling ducts. The rear ducts differed on the sports roof and convertible due to clearance issues with the framework of the convertible top. The rear of the Shelby was unique as well, with the deck lid and quarter extensions forming a rear lip that acted as a spoiler. The rear fascia also featured 1964 Thunderbird-style sequential tail lamps, a dual exhaust center exit with an aluminum tip. The wheels in the car were unique to the Shelby as well. They were 15x7 composite 5-spoke designs wrapped by F60 15-inch Goodyear polyglass tires. Ford added many creature comforts to the Shelby standard feature list, such as power steering and brakes. These were disc in the front and drum in the rear, a 3-spoke rim blow steering wheel, high back bucket seats, a padded roll bar with deluxe seatbelts, full gauges in the instrument panel, a fully padded console, a heavy-duty suspension with a heavy front stabilizer bar, and heavy-duty shock absorbers. All Mustang options were available on a Shelby Mustang. The automotive press was generally receptive to the new Mustang. Car and Driver tested a 428 Cobra Jet Mach 1 and noted that the car was seriously nose-heavy and the additional length over the front wheels was not needed. They also noted it had plenty of power if you could avoid wheel spin. They could not, and recorded a 0 to 60 time of 5.7 seconds and crossed a quarter mile in 14.3 seconds at 100 miles per hour. Car Life also tested a 428 Cobra Jet Mach 1 and a Shelby GT 500 428 Cobra Jet, and turned in times of 14.47 in the quarter mile for the Shelby. However, they were able to pilot the Mach 1 to a 13.6 at 103 miles per hour, making it the 4th quickest car the magazine had ever tested. The buying public seemed to like the 1969 restyle, with Ford dealers delivering 299,824 Mustangs for the 1969 model year. This consisted of 56,022 standard fastbacks, 72,458 Mach 1s, 5,958 deluxe fastbacks, 118,613 standard coupes, 22,182 Grandes, 5,714 Deluxe Coupes, 15,438 Standard Convertibles, and 3,439 Deluxe Convertibles.
This is the original Mustang, the #1 sporty car. Every year since its introduction, Mustang has stayed #1 because it's never stood still. And for 1970, Mustang is still #1, with a choice of models like the Boss 302, where you can get options like shaker scoop and sport slats. #1 with a wider choice of roof lines. A Landau top on the luxurious Grande, with choices like a 3-speed automatic and power disc brakes. #1 to make high back buckets, full carpeting, stick shift, all standard. #1 with Mach 1, where you can get more options like a 351 4-valve V8 and functional shaker. Mustang was #1 before the imitations came along and still is. It's the survival of the fittest, and the fittest is Mustang. #1.
1970 brought changes to the Mustang. Ford marketing felt the 69 was a bit too menacing and it needed to be dialed back a bit. In response, designers removed a set of the headlamps and moved the 2 remaining headlamps inboard and redesigned the front fender extension, adding 2 duct-like indentations. Along the side, the faux brake duct was removed from the fastbacker sports roof. The Mustang emblem was also removed from the C-pillar. The rear of the car was restyled as well. The fuel filler cap panel became flat, and the brake/turn signals were recessed and housed in a chrome bezel with black accents. The interior of the car remained largely unchanged. Engine offerings were revised as well, with Ford dropping the 351 cubic inch Windsor and replacing it with the 351 cubic inch Cleveland. This engine came with 2 separate carburetor and head configurations. The 2-barrel carbureted 2V head version boasted 250 horsepower, and the 4-barrel 4V head configuration, which had an 11:1 compression ratio and larger intakes and exhaust valves, boasted 300 horsepower and put down 385 pound-feet of torque. All other power plant and transmission offerings were carried over intact. However, Ford added a Hurst shifter to the top loader 4-speed for performance offerings. The Mach 1 for 1970 looked very different. In the front of the car, Ford added inside driving lights and a center hood stripe with call-outs to the engine's cubic inch size, that being either the 351 or 428. The side stripe was replaced with an extensive lower body side cladding that featured Mach 1 callouts on the lower front fenders. At the rear of the Mach 1, a honeycombed applique was added between the tail lamps, and Ford added a flip-up filler cap. The 1970 Shelby offerings were actually 1969s that had not been sold in 1969. All 789 cars were brought back into the factory, new serial numbers were assigned to the cars, and they were titled as 1970 model offerings. This was reportedly done under FBI, yes, the Federal Bureau of Investigation's supervision. The only modifications being a front air dam was added and black hood stripes were added as well. Ford released the Mustang Grabber. This was a special package to promote the Grabber paint colors. These were all fastbacks painted in either Grabber Green, Grabber Blue, Grabber Orange, Calypso Coral, or Bright Yellow. They were optioned as the Grabber Special Value Package. The Grabber package included a special C stripe, which is similar to the 69 Boss 302 side stripe without the lettering. They were powered by the F-Code 302 2-barrel engine, and the equipment list included body-colored side mirrors, a blacked-out rear taillight panel, and 14-inch wheels with dog dish plain hubcaps. The GT model was dropped for 1970. There were no other changes of note. Ford dealers delivered 191,239 Mustangs for the 1970 model year. 40,970 were Mach 1s, 45,934 were fastbacks, 13,581 Grande Coupes, 82,569 Standard Coupes, and 7,673 convertibles. Once again, the sales numbers for the 1969 and 1970 Mustang, like the 2 years prior, were down. However, I'm not going to point to anyone at Ford for this sales decline. The 69-70 Mustangs were awesome vehicles. They looked great. There was plenty of power plant offerings for this car. However, if you look at the first Mustang when it came out in 1964, there was really nothing like it. It was an affordable, sporty looking, and also could be performing car. In 1969, that's a completely different story. These cars, for all intensive purposes, were muscle cars. And in 1969, every U.S. manufacturer had multiple muscle cars, plenty of go-fast options everywhere. And those cars simply siphoned the sales away from the Mustang. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. That helps to get it recommended to other folks out there on YouTube. It helps the channel. Also, consider subscribing. I have plenty of content like this on the channel. This video right over here talks about another Bunkie Knudsen inspired, and this time completely inspired car, the 71 through 73 Mustang. I'm going to explain to you how that car got to be so large. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Till next time, we'll see you.